Well, here I am in the lovely mangroves of Tara Point in Sydney. It's a Ramsar listed wetland. I'm wanting to sample the consumers. I'm wanting to sample small fish and invertebrates that are coming in to feed in this wetland. And they're the sorts of fish that are going to make a really important contribution to the broader ecosystem of the estuary. But how do we sample them? What's the most effective way of sampling the range of fish that are coming in and feeding in this wetland? What we found after using several techniques is that the Fyke Net is probably the most efficient form of sampling, the easiest form of sampling to use in this environment. I'm going to show you now how to set up the Fyke Net. Let's first orient the Fyke Net in the direction that we want it to face. In this case, the estuary is behind me. I'm going to allow the tide to come in, and then as the tide recedes, the fish are going to move out of the forest, hopefully some of them into my Fyke Net. So the Fyke Net in this case is going to be facing the landward side of the mangrove, but toward the edge of the mangrove forest. I want to be sampling fish that are moving out of the mangrove forest. Why am I wanting to do that? Well, maybe I want to see what the fish have been eating when they've been in the mangrove. If I want to do some gut content analysis, it would make sense for me to be sampling fish as they're exiting the mangrove forest. It won't affect the isotopes. The isotopes are integrating information over a month or more. But for gut content, perhaps if I set it up in this way, I'm sampling fish that are coming out. We have two wings that can be secured in place by a stake. Let me just do the other one. We also have a partition out the front. And so fish moving laterally across the wetland will be intercepted by one of these nets, which will funnel the fish into the opening of the Fyke Net, into the main funnel. It has some floats on the top. As the tide comes in, that little net will float upwards and provide a barrier against which might be intercepted fish. It's very important at the back of the net, it will open up. I want to tie that off so that the fish can't just escape out the back of the net. I'm just tying a little knot. So that's nice and closed. And that's secured in place. My Fyke Net is now ready to go. If you like, you can pin down the bottom of the net with tent pegs, but that can damage the net. We found that if it's a firmly constructed net, that should be enough. If we just come a little bit closer, I'll describe how the net works. Fish generally swim facing the current. So if the current's exiting, if the water's exiting the wetland, the fish are generally swimming backwards. They're coming in this way, they're hitting that net, they're never actually looking in this direction. They usually will back in to the Fyke Net. And as they come in, they move successively into these smaller and smaller chambers. they're not terribly bright animals. They can't really figure out how to swim back out. And as they swim into these flumes, they generally stay in one or more of these chambers. Okay, we've now installed the Fyke Net. Tide's come in, and all going well, the fish on leaving the wetland will be intercepted by one of the wings of the Fyke Net and find their way into the funnel. Once they're in there, they won't be able to get out. They'll simply back up against the end of the Fyke Net and stay there until the tide has receded, at which point I'll come and retrieve them from the net, preserve them, take them to the laboratory. Okay, come back now to the Fyke Net. The tide's gone out, and just want to briefly show how we collect fish from the net. All going well, the net has intercepted the fish. They've accumulated inside one of these chambers. Now I could just open the zipper right now, put my hand in and try to find them. That's essentially what we're doing. But the first thing we do is pull out the end stake. You may even want to move the Fyke Net up into higher ground. The fish won't go anywhere. Often you find a lot of the fish are accumulating against this end of the net. One easy way to start retrieving the fish is to move them all down to the end of this net, undo this knot, and have a bucket ready to shake them out at the end of the net. That's probably the most efficient way. We want to go through the rest of the net, opening up these chambers, shaking the net down and seeing if any fish have accumulated inside the net. Once we do that, we euthanize the fish, take it back to the laboratory, and then go through our sample preparation techniques.